Segundo día del Mobile World Congress, estamos haciendo más vídeos en el día de hoy, es el segundo día, como les digo, seguimos con muchos anuncios, muchas entrevistas, y la primera del día es con Tom de la empresa Analysys Mason. Él es el director de Research para esta empresa y nos va a comentar un poquito qué está viendo o qué cree que es importante en el evento. Tom, welcome to talisman.com.
Thank you.
So, okay, just second day,
Yeah.
already a lot of activity.
Yeah.
What have you seen from your perspective of what is your take so far of what you've heard and seen at the show?
I think my take so far, a little bit like last year, we've not really had any major announcements, no big news. There are the smaller things like the Firefox operating system with the low-cost handsets, but I don't think we've seen much that we'll be talking about in 2 years' time. No major changes.
What did you think about what we heard yesterday from the operators, the CEOs, and the OTTs? That sounded to me like last year also. I mean,
well, I didn't actually see the...
Oh, you didn't see it? Did you read the stories on
I just read the stories in the today, and it's operators want less regulation. Well, they say that every year.
Every year, so it's nothing new?
It's nothing particularly new.
Okay.
I think more what we're seeing, and maybe this is positive as well, we aren't seeing those big industry-changing announcements, but there are lots of small... Yes. Well, maybe there'll be some more. Maybe some people are holding things back. Who knows? I think more what we're seeing are the smaller incremental changes. So the announcements yesterday about, I think it was VimpelCom and MasterCard. So things like mobile payments, which we've talked about for a long time. There's been some activity, but we're seeing a bit more concrete contracts and things happening. The same around M2M. So one of my colleagues, Steve Hilton, wrote a piece on the Ericsson and SAP deal. Again, 2 or 3 years ago, Ericsson was talking about 50 billion devices. Now we're seeing them put contracts and partnerships and deals in place to make that happen. So I think that's more what we're seeing at this Mobile World Congress.
So for what you're saying, and not to say that you are not optimistic about what's coming up today and the next 2 days, but you don't seem to be expecting anything happening that has not been announced yet.
Yeah,
don't you think today, Ericsson might come up with something?
Who knows? Maybe there's some earth-shattering announcement.
So we can go home already.
So we can.
If it was for you, probably.
But I think, to be honest, it's the same as last year. Last year there was no real big announcements, no industry changing. It hasn't been for. I think the last one was Microsoft Nokia deal, which was 2 years ago. That was a big deal, big announcement, got everybody talking.
Which, at the end of the day.
But this time there's not. There's no single event that everybody's talking about. As you say, maybe something will be announced tomorrow, but...
Were you expecting perhaps somebody talking more about LTE Advanced? I was actually expecting, some hype around that, and actually it doesn't seem that LTE is even mentioned at all.
No, I guess fundamentally there are 3 things. There are the networks, there are the handsets, and then there are services that run over the 2. Yeah. Now, any advances in the networks, they take so long to... It's not that LTE Advanced, we knew about that before, we knew about that 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah. But still having somebody saying, okay, we brought a station with LTE release 12, and we're testing it out here in Barcelona. We have a truck outside with, LTE, whatever.
Yeah, you're right, there's no major network.
So network, nothing.
Nothing. Well, I mean, there are things happening, but no big changes.
So on the services side, you were saying?
So on the services side,
same. RCS, but for example, I was expecting a big push for RCS.
So we had a big push for RCS last year.
Yes.
And there were big announcements then. Now we still, I think in Spain, it's not operating natively on the handsets. It's still as kind of an ATT type app.
Yeah.
So it's still kind of work in progress. And, maybe next year there'll be some big announcements.
But were you expecting to hear more about RCS? Or?
Honestly, no. I mean,
jeez, I need to talk to you before I come here because I was expecting so many things that didn't happen that perhaps I was completely offside myself.
Yeah, maybe I'm an analyst and a bit more pessimistic about the things that will change. Interesting thing I saw at one of the sessions yesterday, just talking about optimism and pessimism.
Yes.
So there was a big survey, I think it was a Gallup survey, of people from regions all around the world as to whether they were optimistic as whether mobile would improve their life or pessimistic. Yeah. Latin America was the most optimistic.
Really?
And Western Europe was the most pessimistic.
But that has nothing to do with technology. It has to do with the economic realities. Latin America is kind of booming, and Europe is...
So that's one reading of it, and it may just be that Europe economic crisis. It's depressed.
It's pessimistic overall.
The other reason that they were arguing is that in higher income, higher education regions where smartphone penetration is already high, there's less to be gained from having a smartphone if you don't have a smartphone. Also the other regions where there's Middle East, Africa, developing Asia, so where smartphone penetration isn't so high, there's more optimism. So possibly not just about the economic situation.
Okay. So perhaps has something to do with the telephone itself or the smartphone phenomenon itself.
Yeah. I mean, again, the negative view of that is that once you have a smartphone, like in Western Europe, the majority of people have a smartphone, then it doesn't really change your life as much as you thought it was going to.
Now, you mentioned the Firefox operating system.
Yeah.
Probably that's okay, if we don't have major announcements, let's invent one.
Yeah.
And we're going to pretend that the Firefox announcement is a huge one, because Telefonica is behind it, and because we're still hoping that somebody will come in and challenge Android and Apple. I'm not sure why, because I remember when the feature phones were dominant in the market, operators were saying we need less operating systems. Now that they have less operating systems, they want more. There's no really...
Well,
but what do you think about the Firefox operating system? What's your take on that?
So I had a play with it on the stand. It works fine. It looks fine. It doesn't do anything particularly amazing or particularly impressive. All of the arguments for it are that it's an open source, free operating system, and the handsets will be cheap. But how much difference is that from cheap Android phones? I'm not really sure.
And plus, it's funny that operators are asking for free operating system when they are complaining that the OTTs are free.
Well, the operating they've gone from a situation when there was 2 or 3 years ago there were 7, 8, 9 different operating systems, which was too many, which was a mess, and it was too many for the operators. If there's only 2 operating systems and one is dominated by Apple, one is dominated by Google, then it just pushes the operators out. So they don't want to be in that peripheral position. They want to play a stronger role, which is why Telefonica is pushing this Firefox so much. So they want to have 3, maybe 4 operating systems. They don't want to have 7 or 8, but they certainly don't want to have 2, one of which is dominated by Google.
And you think that Firefox will do it because, for what you're saying, or for what it seems that Firefox is kind of willing of giving the operators much more power in terms of the operating system. And then we have Windows, which is not really taking off. And I don't know, it's because the operators are saying, if I have 2 and now I bring Microsoft into the game, again, it's a third force that's, replacing me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just.
But at least if it's Microsoft, then it fragments the market more, and it doesn't mean Google is all powerful. But with Microsoft, they're not very flexible. They've got a very clear vision of what they want the Windows Phone operating system to be and how it should work. So it doesn't give the operators too much space to tweak it and play around with it. Yeah. What I did wonder about the Firefox, when we've done surveys, we do big consumer surveys, and about 70%, 80% of people say they want a smartphone.
Okay.
But then you've got that rump of people at the end, you're about 20, 30, they just want a phone to make calls and send text messages. They just want a simple phone, which is what you got in the old feature phones from old Nokia phones. Yeah. When I look at Firefox, it's kind of halfway between. It's not all singing, all dancing, complicated Android. So it's a relatively simple, relatively straightforward operating system. So I wonder if it's a way of upselling people who've got feature phones onto a sort of smartphone, but without being an all singing, all dancing, complex one like an Android.
Interesting. For some reason, now that you mentioned that, it triggers in my head the fact that that's not good news for Nokia. Because Nokia is having a lot of success with Asha.
Yeah.
Asha is something in between.
Yeah.
It's been, what has kind of saved their latest financial statement.
Yeah.
Something that Firefox is going to address kind of that in-between market where, I want to access Facebook, but I don't want to have...
Well, I mean, it seems to be, it is going after the same sort of markets. I think, I didn't see them, but the announcements that Nokia are making more lower-end handsets, which seems exactly where this Firefox are aiming for.
So it could be trouble for Nokia, somehow.
It could be more competition for Nokia, yeah.
Okay. What else have you seen? What else could you report for our audience in Latin America? What would be something that you would like to point that you've seen?
So
now we don't have the CBOS stand with the latest dancing, so we cannot comment on that.
None of that. The thing that we've been following closely again is around machine to machine, and I was saying before, I think there's lots of small changes in that. So we're talking about the embedded SIMs. I think there are already things in Brazil happening with the call. Every car in Brazil from 2013 needs to have a SIM in it, really? And they need to be interoperable between different networks. So it's not lumped onto one network. So that's one area where Brazil, I think, is quite advanced. And I think increasingly we'll be seeing there's a lot of talk about the end-to-end device connection device platforms in Europe. I think increasingly we'll be seeing that in the Latin American operators as well.
Okay.
So again, these aren't industry-changing announcements or things, but they're small things that are moving forward. And machine to machine, compared to 2 or 3 years ago when it was just talk. Now we're seeing much more in terms of contracts and things happening.
Okay. In Analysys Mason, are you releasing any research here at the show? Are you?
So we've just released a new forecast report for Latin America.
Really?
Covering fixed and mobile, so the smartphone penetration, revenues, ARPUs, all of that.
Where do we get that? I mean, obviously for pay, but
it's for pay. It's part of it's either a standalone report or it can be bought as part of the subscription.
You can buy it on your website?
on their website, on the analysysmason.com website.
Well, then I invite everybody to visit your website, and if they feel they need to buy it, then go ahead and buy it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you. Pleasure.